They say the Maddox name was erased from every county record for a reason. You won't find it carved on a headstone, or scribbled in the yellowed ledgers of the old towns that surround those hills. But sometimes, when the fog comes down thick, and the wind cuts just right through the trees, you can still hear a voice whispering that name, Maddox, like it's a curse trying to crawl back into the world. It starts with a search party. 3 hikers went missing along Miller Ridge, near the Forgotten Hollow, where no road dares to reach. Their friends said they'd heard laughter deep, strange, like a child choking on its own giggle, echoing from the trees. When police went in, they found a tent, torn wide open from the inside. Blood, everywhere, but no bodies. Only a trail of bones. Old ones. Shaped wrong. The locals never spoke of the Maddoxes out loud. The family wasn't just inbred, they were changed. The story says the patriarch, Elijah Maddox, made a bargain back in the 1800s. He'd lost half his kin to hunger that winter, and in desperation, he prayed not to God, but to something else. He promised blood for survival. He promised that his line would never starve again. The next morning, they found the snow around their cabin painted red, and meat roasting on the fire. But no one ever saw where it came from. If you stood near that hollow today, you'd notice something strange. No birds, no insects, no life at all. Just the silence of rot. Hunters who've wandered too far describe finding tree trunks with scratch marks 10 feet high, and what looked like human teeth embedded in the bark. Some say those are warnings left by the Maddox children, the ones born wrong. A man named Cole Turner once claimed he saw them. He was a survivalist who filmed his trips for a small YouTube channel. His last upload went live in 2017. The footage is still online, but it doesn't stay up for long. It gets removed, then re-uploaded by someone else, always edited a little differently. The clip starts with him whispering into his camera, saying he found the cabin. You can hear something dripping in the background. He moves inside, breathing heavy, and there, nailed to the wall, are dozens of faces, leathered, preserved, stitched together like trophies. Then he turns the camera, and something moves behind him. A flash of twisted limbs. The video cuts. Law enforcement searched for Cole for 6 days. All they found was his backpack, soaked through with black water, and a single tooth lodged in the strap. They tested it. It wasn't human. They say the Maddox line never died out. Every few years, there's a report. A missing hiker, a strange scream. A deer carcass left upside down in the trees. Its insides rearranged in patterns no one can explain. People think it's wild animals. Locals know better. In one old recording from the 1960s, an officer talks about finding a hidden root cellar beneath an abandoned cabin. Inside were journals written by a woman named Esther Maddox. Her last entry reads, "He told us we must eat to stay whole. But I can feel him in my dreams now. His voice in the dark tells me to keep the blood warm, to keep the line pure." There's a rumor, if you say her name 3 times on a still night, you can hear her humming just before sunrise. And if you follow that sound, you'll find the hollow. But if you do, you'll never come back the same. One of the rangers once tried to burn the place down. The fire didn't take. The wood hissed like wet flesh. They said the trees screamed. That ranger quit the next day, drove north, and hasn't spoken since. Sometimes at night, truckers driving through the back roads claim they see figures standing on the ridges, tall, bent shapes with eyes that glint yellow when headlights hit them. Always watching, always waiting, and every year, when the first frost hits the valley, something crawls out of the ground near the Maddox cabin. It leaves tracks, too large for a human, too deliberate for an animal. People follow them, thinking it's a bear, but those who do never make it home. Some folks think the Maddox family's curse was simple hunger. Others believe they became something far worse, not just cannibals, but vessels. That, whatever Elijah summoned that night in the 1800s, didn't give them food. It gave them a new appetite. They say if you listen long enough in those woods, you'll hear the trees breathing, and underneath it, just barely audible, is the sound of chewing. So if you ever find yourself in Appalachia, and you see an old sign carved into the wood that says M, turn back, don't go further. Because once the Maddox line catches your scent, you're not prey, you're family now. Asterisk, they say, fire cleanses, but in the Maddox Hollow, even flames seem afraid to linger. After that search party vanished, a team from the state came down, journalists, investigators, thrill seekers, all chasing the ghost of the Maddox legend. One of them, a man named Daniel Keene, brought a drone. The footage he captured lasted less than 5 minutes before the battery drained without reason. But what it saw in those 5 minutes still makes people go cold. The forest wasn't empty. It was breathing. Trees bent in one direction, as if something heavy crawled beneath the roots. At one point, the drone hovered above an old barn roof, and through a hole in the shingles, a pale hand reached up. Too fast. Too long. The feed cut to static. 2 days later, Daniel's girlfriend received a voicemail. A single phrase, whispered, "You shouldn't have watched." The county shut off the trail entrance the next morning. Locals said it wasn't for safety. It was containment. There's something about the Maddox curse that doesn't die with time. Some people think it's a sickness passed through the blood, a deformity. Others swear it's a hunger that infects those who get too close. Like that ranger who found Esther's journal, months after he left the force. His neighbors started hearing strange sounds from his shed. When police came, they found chains, bite marks, and bones too small to be deer. He swore he never remembered any of it. They committed him to a mental hospital upstate. His last words before he went silent were written on his wall in charcoal. They don't eat flesh. They eat memories. The deeper you go into that region, the more time folds in strange ways. One hunter said he spent a single night camping near the hollow, but when he returned home, 3 weeks had passed. He couldn't explain where he'd been. His clothes were damp, smelled of iron and smoke, and in his bag, among his tools, was something wrapped in burlap, a small human jawbone, still wet. Locals whisper about the Maddox song, a lullaby mothers used to sing to their children. No one remembers the words anymore, but if you hum it, even by accident, sometimes you'll hear it echoed back from the woods, not by one voice, but many. Some say those are the ones who didn't escape, late at night, when the fog rolls low and the world feels too still. Truckers claim to see movement on the ridgelines, a flicker of faces that look half familiar, half rotten, watching with wide, wet eyes, and in the quiet after they pass, you can hear something dragging itself along the gravel. There's a theory that the Maddox family was never truly human again after the pact Elijah made. They became hosts, carriers, a bloodline that doesn't just survive. It spreads. Every few decades, someone disappears, and when they do, new stories start of strange births, of people who crave raw meat, of families who vanish into the woods. Always near the same valley, always near the old Maddox Hollow. One night, a woman driving through the area called 911, panicked, said she'd hit something on the road, claimed it looked human, but it kept crawling. The dispatcher told her to stay in the car, but the recording caught something else, a soft tapping on her window, then her voice whispering, "It looks like me." They found the car the next morning. The door was open. Inside, claw marks etched the steering wheel. On the windshield, written in what they think was blood, were 3 words, "We're still here." There's something buried beneath that hollow, something that keeps the Maddoxes alive in more than just stories. The ground itself seems to pulse when you step too close, like it's remembering every meal, every scream. And when you stand in that silence long enough, you start to feel watched. Not by one set of eyes, but by a family that never learned to die. Because in Appalachia, hunger doesn't end. It just finds a new host. The last known person to step into the Maddox Hollow willingly was a documentarian named Claire Redding. She'd built her entire career chasing the truth behind Appalachian folklore, the kind of stories that blur the line between myth and evidence. The Maddox file was her obsession. Her colleagues told her to stay away. The locals begged her to forget. She didn't. She drove into the valley on a rainy October night and never came back out. Weeks later, her footage surfaced. No one knows who uploaded it. It starts calm, headlights cutting through mist, rain slapping the windshield. She's narrating softly, explaining that she's reached the old foundation where the Maddox cabin once stood. But then something catches her light handprints. Dozens of them. Small, child-sized, pressed into the mud. Fresh, she follows them deeper, whispering. Her voice starts to shake. The trail leads to a cellar door, half swallowed by vines. She opens it. The camera flickers. Something moves in the dark, breathing, wet and ragged. Claire starts calling out, asking if anyone needs help. Then a voice answers her, not from the dark, but from right behind her, in her own voice. The screen drops. You hear her running. Branches snap, footsteps pound, and over it all, a child's laugh echoes through the woods. She gasps for breath, saying, "It's them. They're real." There, then static. The video ends. Officials dismissed it as a hoax, but when her vehicle was found weeks later, the engine was cold, the interior bone dry, and there were muddy prints on the inside of the windows. Small ones. Locals say the Maddox Hollow changes those who enter. It reshapes them. The curse doesn't just trap you there, it absorbs you, rewrites you, makes you part of the family. That's why no one burns it down, no one dares dig it up. Because somewhere under that soil, their voices are still whispering, calling for new blood to keep the line alive. There's a detail that almost everyone misses in that last piece of Claire's footage. Just before the static, there's a single frame where you can see faces behind her. Not one, not two, a dozen. Twisted, misshapen, but smiling. Their skin stretched thin, their eyes wide and shimmering in the light. And in the middle stands a tall figure with bones that bend wrong, holding what looks like a heart, still beating. That frame was analyzed by professionals. No manipulation found, no edits. Just a timestamp that doesn't match any human clock format. Some believe Elijah's curse evolved, that it no longer needs blood to sustain itself. It feeds on memory, the fear, the grief, the curiosity of those who watch, those who speak the Maddox name aloud. Every telling keeps them alive. Every whisper gives them power. And maybe that's the real tragedy. Not that the Maddox family became monsters, but that they were chosen. That some ancient hunger picked them, molded them, and left them to rot in eternal silence, waiting for someone to notice again. Even now, hikers say if you walk too close to the hollow, you'll feel something brushing against your arm, a cold, trembling hand reaching up from the soil. Don't turn around. Don't look back, because if you do, and you see their faces, you'll never stop hearing them. They'll start calling you by name. They'll start whispering at night, and before long, you'll feel it. That ache in your stomach, that pulse under your tongue, the hunger that never leaves. The Maddox family isn't gone. They're just waiting for you to join them. Asterisk, if you think the story of the Maddox line ended here, you're wrong. Every year, when the frost returns to Appalachia, another name vanishes from those same mountains, and every time, the prints left behind look a little more human. But tell me, if you heard a voice calling your name from the trees, and it sounded just like your own, would you answer? Because next time, we're going deeper. There's another hollow, one no map dares to show, a place older than the Maddox bloodline, where the first hunger began. If you're still watching this, you're already closer than you think, so keep your lights on. Keep your volume high, and whatever you do, don't look behind you.